Welcome to Bad Witch Babbles, the show where we chat with magical folks about all things dark, dreamy, and a little bit spooky. From authors to dancers and everyone in between, let's babble. Trigger warning. This episode contains mention of sexual assault. Please look at the timestamps if you wish to skip this topic. Be mindful as you continue, and thank you for listening. Hey everybody, it's Lashes Lane. Welcome to Bad Witch Babbles. I am here with the lovely Elizabeth Starling.
Hello.
Hey, how are ya?
Good.
If you guys didn't know, Elizabeth is an author, and her first book, The Reign of Glittering Flames, is coming out August 5th. I was going to say 4th. I guess I was getting too excited.
Yeah, Tuesday release, so 5th.
It's so exciting. So, Elizabeth, how are you doing today before we get into all the book stuff?
Yeah, I'm doing good. We already talked a little bit about my morning, but it was fun. I made it here in one piece, and
yes,
like my makeup didn't completely melt off of me, so.
You look gorgeous. You look gorgeous. I'm super excited for you guys listening. If you don't know the lore, Elizabeth is actually really good friends with my twin sister, Paige Lavoie, who was on an earlier episode of the podcast. So it's like a big author party here.
Yeah, Paige was actually one of the first people that read my earliest draft of this book, so that was fun to get a real author to read my book.
You're so sweet. She is a real author, but you are a real author too.
I will be on August 5th, so
it's official. August 5th, real author status. Yes. Stamp it on. So for everyone listening at home, just meeting you for the first time, let's hear a little bit about yourself before we get into the book.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm a Florida native, so
cool.
I grew up in the Panhandle, but I now call Orlando my home. I've always been really into creative, artsy stuff. I was a designer for a really long time. I just got into writing in 2023. I convinced myself I was never good enough to write because I always struggled with reading. I think there might be some undiagnosed dyslexia happening there. I started getting into writing. It just kind of exploded from there. I have always been really into fantasy and magic, darker things.
Ooh.
And so I describe my book as a fantasy romance with a touch of darkness. And actually this relates to one of the things I brought to show you.
We're having a show and tell. You guys need to know this is a show and tell, so you better be watching this on YouTube.
So a little tiny bit of backstory. As long as I can remember, Halloween was always my favorite holiday, and I loved the dress up part of it, becoming a character and really acting like that character and just kind of embracing the whole almost early cosplay aspect to it. And so later high school, I got super into Lord of the Rings. I dressed up as so many different characters. I sewed all the costumes and made them. I'd wear them to school on Halloween and take pictures in them. And anytime there was a movie premiere, I would wear the costume to the movie premiere.
You were one of the midnight showing dress up gals.
Yeah. So side tangent. For Return of the King, they were doing 12 in the afternoon premieres instead of midnight premieres.
Wow.
And my mom checked me out of school so I could watch the midnight premiere of Return of the King. So anyway, but the thing I wanted to show you was this is the closest evidence that you will ever see that is how close I will ever get to doing burlesque. And so I'll give you a digital version so you can show
perfect.
the peeps. But this is
what?
This is me as the Witch King of Agmar, but I made it sexy. And
oh my God, you're hired.
You can see I'm only showing leg. That's all you get. The show ends there. So
this is everything. This is quite spicy. You made this?
Yeah, I made the armor. I made the outfit, the black robes. And then the only thing I didn't make was I ordered those leather pauldron things because I wasn't about to make leatherworking yet another hobby. And
yet another.
I know. The mace I made, but the sword I bought and spray painted to be more like the Witch King's sword. But
I'm obsessed.
Maybe bonus content. This is how my husband dressed up. he's a potato because in Lord of the Rings, there's, you know, the scene with the potatoes.
This is why people are here.
I'm not going to requote the whole thing. You can.
That's so
if you
funny.
know, you know. But he knew I was going to be sexy witch king, and he's like, you know what? I want to be a potato. And so I made it happen, and I made him a potato costume.
Oh, you made this?
Yeah, I did.
This looks like a real potato. Mm-hmm. This is good. I like it a lot.
No, I grew a whole potato.
You grew it and cut a little hole in it. Hop in, honey. That's so funny. That's iconic. Well, you guys are icons.
Cosplay couple. I have the armor with the weapons, and he's like, I want to be a vegetable.
I like it. So did you also write Lord of the Rings fan fiction like my sister? Or?
So I did, and I wish I could have read pages, but mine was a little different. Frodo is mine.
Oh.
And like I really liked Frodo when I was a kid. As an adult, I'm completely team Aragorn.
Yeah,
and,
that's my guy
and,
right there.
It's Aragorn and Faramir.
Okay.
And that's all I need. But anyway, I did a lot of like comics. Like I would draw little comics, like the one that comes to mind that I can think of now is I used to be really obsessed with Good Charlotte.
Oh my God! Wait, same. Wait, no.
Yes.
Wait.
And so I had a comic where me and Billy.
Wait, was Billy your crush?
Yeah.
Billy was my crush.
And so me and Billy had a bathtub, a clawfoot bathtub that we made into a time machine that once you strummed a certain chord on the guitar, it would transport you. And so he and I teleported to Middle Earth. And so it was like a comic about us like being time travelers in Middle Earth and like meeting elves and hobbits. And it was not a romance. It was more just like, I like this guy Billy and we're going to go travel back in time to Middle Earth. And we're just going to hang out with hobbits and Gandalf.
I'm giddy right now.
I don't even know if I still have it. I'll check to see if I have any drawings from it.
Thank God.
It's probably burned as it should be.
Man, you were just fun. We could talk for hours and hours.
I can come back again.
You should. And we should have Paige too. We'll do like a little trio episode. That would be fun.
That would be fun.
Talk about Good Charlotte. What made you finally decide to write Reign of the Glittering Flames? Was there a moment? Because you said you were like having imposter syndrome a little bit and you were like, I don't know if I'm good enough to write this. What was your moment where you're like, you know what? It's time. I'm going to step into my power, be an author, and do this thing. What was your moment?
So there was kind of like some things that happened over the course of like about a year and a half that kind of like led me to this point, which was one, I, like every eldest millennial daughter, started reading fairy smut again, and then just like that completely took over my life. I finished reading ACOTAR, which is like the big one that it's like the gateway drug that gets everybody into it. I just had such a bad like book hangover after that. I tried to like find other like series, and I found a couple that like I liked, but then I read a lot of bad ones, and I was just like, I need something to like fill this void in my soul for what is high fantasy, but like the romance like isn't ignored, and it's like the door isn't shut like when they're finally getting to have their like romantic moment. And so there was that. And then on the other side, I was a dungeon master for a game. It was it was a Lord of the Rings game.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I was
not
like,
that kind of dungeon master.
I just saw the photo, okay?
The kind with the dice. So we were playing a Lord of the Rings game, and I was the dungeon master, and we did that game for like a year and a half. And it was kind of like me reclaiming this idea that I could be a dungeon master, because it takes a lot of like facilitation skills and just like improv skills, and like being able to like, if your characters are like, my characters were obsessed with going to the shittiest bar in every town. And so episode 1, they're like, where's the shittiest bar? And I had to make up the shittiest bar. I couldn't like stop and think about it and like do some research. It's just like these things kind of unfold. And so that, just doing that kind of gave me the confidence to be like, you know, I can make up stories. We finished that game, and then one of my friends who's also a dungeon master was like, okay, let's do a game where we'll go back to D&D, and it might be like a little dark or like evil. And so I was like, okay. And so I get to be a player this time. So I started thinking about what I wanted my character to be. And so I rolled Rain, which is the main character in this book.
Yes.
I like made her character sheet. Case of D&D, she was a tiefling instead of in the book we call them Hellborn. I wrote a 1-page backstory for her. It was just kind of like, yay, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm obsessed with Rain. Like, I really want to play her and stuff like that. And then as it happens, these campaigns always like fall through. Like, something just happens, scheduling, adults, you know, life commitments and stuff. And so the campaign never happened. Like, it never even started. And so I just had my little like document with my like 1-page backstory of Rain, and I was like, but I want to like tell her story. And so I decided to just start writing it like on my own. And so I wrote the first 8 chapters of it, and then I gave it to my husband, and I was like, will you read this and tell me if you think I should keep writing or not? And so he read it. You know, he's always like helped, like, because we went to college together, so he's always like read my papers and like given me feedback and stuff like that before. He's like, I think you should keep doing this, like, even though there's like, it's the first thing you've ever written, so not everything's going to be perfect. There's going to be garbage parts of it. Where it was going, he was just like, I really think you should keep writing. And so I did keep writing. I never thought that I was going to publish it. I just thought, I'm just going to write this because I want it to exist. And so I kind of just stayed focused with that through the whole thing. And then as I got like more and more people to read it and like give me feedback and realize that other people kind of saw the things in it that I saw in it, I was like, well, you know, what would it be like if I did publish this, if other people can like get that joy out of it that I was getting out of just, you know, having it exist. So there's a long story.
No,
but,
I
you know.
love it. So we didn't actually talk about what the book is about, but we heard how you got here, which is amazing. What is this book about? Tell everybody.
Yeah. A fantasy romance. That's like the official genre, but a lot of people online call these kinds of books romantasy. And so it's about a woman who's, you know, roughly 25 years old. She was supposed to be a human, but her mother signed a contract with a devil when she was in her womb. And unbeknownst to the mother, when she was born, she was actually born with the likeness of a devil. The likeness of the one that her mother signed a contract with, actually. And so that was kind of like a surprise that like set her up on this trajectory of being kind of like the outcast of the family, because she was supposed to be human, but now because of this decision that her mother had to make in desperation, she looks like a devil. And as you can imagine, you can't just go walk around a town looking like a devil. People are going to be like, excuse me, what? Like,
Right.
And so
Right.
The other thing that she started to realize as she got older was something else was different about her as a result of that contract. And it was this tugging sensation against the like center of her being. And she'd felt it like her entire life, where it was just kind of like always kind of directionlessly kind of like tugging on her. And then she decided to go to an academy to like learn magic and become a wizard and stuff like that. And so while she's at the academy, she wakes up in the middle of the night because that pull intensified and started pulling her in a very specific direction. Every time she tries to follow it, it kind of like goes away. Now she's like, why would this devil that my mom signed a contract with make me look like him, put this weird directional tug thing in me if I wasn't supposed to follow it? And so that's kind of like how the story starts to unfold. And then it's not a spoiler because it's literally on the back of the book, but where it becomes a romance is that as she's, you know, translating the contract and stuff like that with her best friend in the library, they realize that what that pull could be is a soulmate's bond. And it's not with the devil that signed the contract, it's with a completely separate person. And so that person is Leander, who is one of the princes of the 9 circles of hell, you know, one of the hot devil princes. One of the things that she kind of learns about this is that just like she didn't get to choose that she was born looking like a devil or had this pull in her, he didn't get to choose either. this was something that this other devil, that he kind of orchestrated all this. And so she kind of has to decide, like, okay, I want to get answers to my past and like figure out how to like set myself free from like all these things that are trying to control me. But then also now I've got this guy that is one of those things connected to me, and like, do I want that? The argument is not very strong to not wanting that.
Right.
Kind of like the longer ease into kind of how the book starts.
I'm so excited to read this in full. I'm a paper book girl, so as soon as I get my hands on one of these bad boys.
I don't know if you like men who can transform.
Well, yeah.
And so,
of course,
there's an illustration in here of what this man looks like.
And you did the illustrations, correct?
On the inside, yeah.
Yes.
The outside, oh, here we go. The outside cover was illustrated by an illustrator named Patricia Gutierrez, and I'm just like obsessed with the amazing work that she did on this. She like perfectly captured Rain in this moment. But I'll show you first. This is our boy. He can turn into a hellhound.
Bark.
Yeah, I'll send you like a digital version of this.
Yeah, I'll put it on the screen.
But
bark.
The devil princes have kind of like they're so powerful that they can transform into other forms, and they can become like colossal size. So like when he transforms into this hellhound, it's like the size of like almost like dragons or like giants, like gods, like just taller than buildings, just like kind of like kaiju sized.
Okay. Never heard that word in my life.
Okay.
Yeah. I was homeschooled,
he's a big boy.
Which, I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to ask these questions, but I know this is a spicy book. How many chili peppers was it?
My readers have been describing it as like 3 chili peppers, which I think is totally fair because it's definitely graphic. Like I definitely recommend this book for adults, so over the age of 18, and it uses descriptive and specific language in the scenes, but there's nothing that's like would send it into like a dark romance category.
Okay.
So it's not gonna hit those 4 and 5 chili peppers where it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he did that. It's more just like about the romance and the emotional and physical intimacy of it and stuff like that.
That's what I like.
He's a consent king, so
we love a consent king. We love that. That's so. With the chili peppers in the books, you would think I would be spicier because I run like a witchy burlesque troupe. I like just a little sprinkle of spice. Mm-hmm. So this sounds like an appropriate amount for me. Spicy, but not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe a little,
One of the things I struggled with finding other books to read after my book hangover was I liked it when there was attention to detail in those areas, but if you go straight into like the smut category, the plot is just like non-existent. It's just like they meet each other and it's like, well, this makes no sense from a plot perspective. Let's just bang. Let's bang here. Let's bang there. And it's just like, it's like they had all the bangs like put in a line, and then they were like, what's like meaningless things can we put in between the bangs? And I kind of like craved, I want there to be like really strong plot, like character driven narrative. Then when you get to the part where everything comes together and it makes total sense why they should bang, they actually do it and you get to see it.
Yeah. So you don't have to answer this. The reason why I bring up the chili peppers right now after you talk about the transformation is like,
you want to know if they do it while he's a dog.
I mean,
so they don't.
Okay. I had to know. I had to know.
It's not to say that like maybe in a future book something like that couldn't happen, but even though this book is like long and it takes a little while for them to actually get to their moment, there not much time passes in the actual timeline of the book. There's just a lot of pages, and so it even felt like if I brought in some like stuff like that, it would be like too soon. Like they need some more time in their relationship, then we can see, you know, what happens.
I know there's some folks that are really into the shifting moments. So, you know, had to ask for them. I like that's just a hot guy right there or whatever, like guy looking person, demon, monster.
Yeah.
But like mostly man looking.
I think there's enough going on with like, because when he's a devil, he has horns, he has a tail, he has fangs,
Hot.
and he has like these eyes where it's like the white part is black and the irises actually emit light like a fire. And so he's got enough physically going on in that form to have fun with, where he doesn't necessarily need to also be a hellhound.
Right.
Yeah. Like we can save that one for later.
Yeah, I love that. You described your main characters as morally gray with some heart. Can you tell us a little bit more about the two main characters and like what does that mean? Morally gray, it sounds kind of sexy, dangerous.
Yeah. It's morally gray is definitely like I don't know if it's necessarily like a trope, more like a trend word when it comes to describing characters. I would say that like Rain is definitely like a good character.
Okay.
Like she, despite all of these things happening to her, she still kind of has that that like sense of humanity that like a mortal would have, where it's like, I don't want an innocent person to die, and I don't, I'm gonna try my best to keep harm from being spread while also preserving my own like self-interest and stuff like that. And I think Leander falls definitely more into that morally gray camp, where how I see morally gray, and I think people will argue about what they think it is and isn't, but to me it's just a character who has their own moral compass that they stay consistent with, that might be misunderstood or different from like the society's moral compass. So like, for example, I've seen this in like reels and stuff like that, where it's like, why would you want to fall for the good guy versus like the morally gray guy or the bad guy? The difference being the good guy would sacrifice you for the greater good, because the greater good outweighs in terms of like what it can do for the world, whereas the morally gray guy will burn the world for you to protect you. And
like
so
that.
It's a little bit more like, I think you could view it as selfish or like self-interested, especially if that object is like their love, that person that they're with. But yeah, I think it's all about whatever their own moral compass is and staying true to that. So I don't think that a morally gray character is always classically like going to unalive people, like for the sake of something or other, like insert some plot device,
Right. I like that description a lot, because you hear morally gray and you're like, ooh, is he a bad guy?
A lot of characters I've seen in books that are described as morally gray, they really come across as more evil to me than they do morally gray. And maybe that's where the like community is taking that like term. But at least for me and how I view Leander, he's a devil prince. He has a history of doing devilish activities. He has reasons for why, which you will learn in the book if you read it.
Which you should read it.
Yeah. And so I think that you get to see some of that grayness in him, because you see what some of his actions, his past actions have been, but then you see some of the decisions he's making in the present day, and how maybe it's not just so cut and dry that he's a devil, that he should be like mischievous or trying to like exploit people and stuff like that.
I like that. That's a good description. Would you say Rain is a positive influence on him? Do you want to describe the relationship without spoilers?
Yeah, I would say she definitely is a positive influence on him. I think he also kind of influences her a little bit, which is cute to write about. It's not so much in this book that you see that. I've been drafting the second book, and you get to see more of that in that book. But I really struggled with how I wanted their relationship to be when I started writing about it. I think at first I kind of wanted to lean into the whole like devil thing with contracts and deals, and I just started thinking more and more about the kind of book that I wanted to read and the kind of book I wanted to write. And I knew I didn't want to write a book where the consent was dubious. Like right. I just like, I know that that's popular among a lot of readers, but it's not popular for me. And like, I don't even want to write it for other people. Like, let someone else do that. Yeah. and so book. I started kind of figuring out the things that were really important to me to have in the book. And then I kind of came to this realization as I'm like plotting and kind of like figuring out all these things, what the ending was. And so once I knew what the ending was, I was like, okay, I want to write a book that uses the fated mates trope. Which is how this book is advertised. There's a bit of a twist on the fated mates aspect of it, which if you read and the entire thing all the way to the end, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. But knowing that I wanted it to be fated mates kind of like changed how I viewed their relationship. And I think really where, not to get sappy, where I drew that inspiration from was I believe I'm with my soulmate.
Oh.
And so it's just kind of like, I know.
Your potato.
My potato. And so it was kind of like, one of the things that I think about is we've been together for a very long time. And regardless of like the serendipitous events that might have led to that, I think something that I think about a lot is that over your lifetime, you are different people. Like you don't stay the same person at the beginning of your relationship that you are, at the end or at all the little spots in between. And I think when I think about like a soulmate or like a fated mates kind of like situation, it makes me think of like loving a person in all of their forms and like being loved in all of your forms, and even the ones that maybe you didn't get to experience. So like, when people talk about loving your inner child and stuff like that, like loving all these past versions of someone, despite how they might have been, it's just like, and you know that they're going to be different. So it's not like I need you to be exactly the same as when I met you and blah, blah, blah. It's just kind of like, who are you going to become? It doesn't matter. I'm still going to love you, Anyway.
We just both start crying.
I know. And, I know it sounds a little like
amazing, magical.
Well, yeah, magical is a good word. I think like there's definitely exceptions to that. Like obviously, like people can do some pretty unforgivable things.
Well, yeah,
that,
of course.
Of course. I'm not. I just want to be clear that I'm not like if someone does something unforgivable to you, like it. Even if you believe they're your soulmate, like you should be safe.
Yeah. Be safe out there, guys.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful that you base that on your true love and your soulmate and that connection. That's so sweet and pure. And I feel like when people come up with a story and the love story is like deeply rooted in their soul, like how you wrote their connection, it is more impactful for the reader too. Like we were saying, if you write the smut first and then you come up with the story and just insert, it might not really connect with you. That's a deep connection right there for your readers to experience. That's amazing.
And it's funny because Leander is nothing like my husband. Like, just to be clear, like if you're reading it and you're thinking like, oh, it's him. Like, I think more so Leander's me. And so, like, if you're imagining things, like, I definitely feel like I pulled more from my inner psyche for Leander, than I did from other people. I try not to, like, use real people. I try to bring everything out of pieces of myself, but... Yeah.
Cool. That was another thing I wanted to ask you is the characters, if you had a certain inspiration for certain people, or if it was just you, a little bit of you, a little sprinkle of you.
Yep. I made a TikTok and a reel about this, where it was like thinking about how all of my characters are just like a fragment of like myself. And then if I'm like loving a particular character, I'm like, do I love myself? Like,
yeah, you should.
Should I love myself? Wait, what's happening?
You should love yourself. You should love yourself all the time. You're awesome.
It's funny to think about.
I hope you love all your characters, so you love every piece of yourself.
Yeah, I can't speak for the villains because I don't think I can argue where that came out of, but every story has to have a bad guy.
Yeah. Villains, we don't want to get into who's the villain. We don't want to reveal it.
There is one villain that I can talk about.
Cool.
With her devil father, it's ambiguous. That's part of the mystery and like the twists that happen in the book, but there is a more concrete villain, which is her grandfather.
Oh.
So she is from an aristocratic, wealthy family, and so when she came into this world looking like a devil instead of a human, it all happened out of wedlock for her mother. So there was a lot of like drama, and like her grandfather kind of being the manipulative businessman that he is, basically used her appearance to exploit like deals for himself, like to garner sympathy. Like he made up these stories about how his daughter was raped and like that's how she was born and all this stuff like that, just to basically increase his power and his wealth. And he's also a wizard. As time goes on, she's realizing that one of the reasons why he doesn't want to let go of her, one of the things that controls her, is because he is highly interested in whatever this like contractual tug situation is. There's like other details to that he's interested in that relate to him getting more power.
Dang, Grandpa, come on.
Yeah, so there's that's like one of the main things she's trying to free herself from, but then she also wants to be free from like all these other things being decided for her. Like, should she have this soul bond or not? What power does this other devil daddy have over her?
Devil daddy?
Yeah, what's his deal? Is he gonna try to use the contract to manipulate her too? And it's just so many questions that she has, and the book is all about finding the answers to those. But it wouldn't be a fun twist and turn book if by answering one question you didn't get another question.
Right.
So
I mean, it's a pretty hefty book too. That's a lot of fantasy world to discover, right? You built a whole world for this, I presume. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And you have a background in graphic design. Did that kind of help you with world building?
I think it helped me with like a big thing in design in general is like holistic thinking, like thinking about how all the pieces contribute to the whole. And so I think in terms of like world building, that helps because you think, okay, there's these characters that have this like attribute or this cultural attribute. Why? How does it connect to the other like factions? And like how does it all influence the whole, and like what was it historically? It kind of gets you thinking about some of those things. I think the visual way that it kind of helped me was whenever I read a book, I like see it like a movie in my head, like every single detail. Like it doesn't matter if that detail is described, like my brain is like inserting it in like full color and detail. And so for when I was writing this book, it was the same way. Like it's like I was possessed and I was just watching a movie in my head, like a vision. And I just had to write enough descriptive words to like have that vision be communicated. And so I think because I was so visual, I would see things like, for example, early on when she's following, she calls that pull on her soul the thread. And when she's following this thread, she gets led to this like dark alleyway, and there's like this lantern at the end, and this lantern has like a red light that's like emitting down the alleyway. And just the way that I saw it in my head was just kind of like, a metaphor for like descending into hell, because it's like red light in a dark alley, but then visually you think you have all this darkness, this unknown that she's sitting in where she doesn't know the answers to things, but there's a light over here that's illuminating something with a particular like color, and like the juxtaposition of that, which is what you think about in composition of design, where it's like the placement of things, the color of things, and where people are when you look at like a painting or a thing. It helps communicate what's happening without words.
What is one feeling that you want readers to feel after they close that book, they're finished with it, final page, not the end, to be continued, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely like a firm believer in what the reading community calls happily ever after, HEA endings. Like almost every romance book has a happily ever after. This one's definitely a happily ever after for now because there's more books.
Right.
But I knew that was really important to me, that I wanted love to win and whatever. So I think other than that, I think what I hope people take out of it is just kind of seeing this young woman who had all these controls put on her, and it's not that she found a man that like set her free. Like she figured out how to set herself free. And he just supported her and was supportive in that journey, whatever she needed. And so I think that there's a lot of like moments where she's kind of dealing with a more complex like set of traumas just from growing up with the most evil man on the planet as her grandfather.
Right.
And all these things that happen to her along the way that kind of like create these little trauma moments for her, and how she processes that and, you know, heals from that. And Leander has similar trauma moments that he had to heal himself from. And so I think it's helpful to kind of see two characters deal with trauma on the page in a way where they're not cured, because you can't cure these things, you know,
right?
But they find a way to like process it, to move forward. And I think the big thing that comes up a lot is actually like this idea of the paradox of time. You thought we were going to go not sci-fi with this, but there's just like, you know,
I love a little sci-fi.
Sci-fi is also one of my favorite. I also dressed up as Jedi and stuff like that.
Did you not see I have a lightsaber on my Chase lounge when you walk in?
I probably just glazed
I'll show
over.
you.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I have one of those old school lightsabers that has all the plastic pieces that just like...
Those are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I told you I had a lightsaber. See, we can get into the sci-fi.
And it's red.
Yep.
I'm just going to hold this
for the rest of the interview.
But there's this paradox of time where it's like time is a constant, right? Where it's always moving forward. Like you can't stop that. Like there's no interference with how time moves us along its timeline. And then the paradox is that because time is like that, it means that we are the things that can change like along that timeline. And so because it's a thing that's constant, gives us the ability to decide what person do we want to be in the next like piece of time that time gives us. So like the seconds from now, the, you know, days, months, years from now, like, do we want to be like this? Do we want to be a different way? How do we want to change? And so
wow.
Yeah,
that got me thinking.
Yeah, it comes up in the book as they're processing their traumas together.
Well, now I'm going to process some trauma with that. Like, man, who do I want to be in the next 5 minutes? Got a girl thinking.
You can
be a person with a lightsaber. Yeah,
Sith Lord.
Sith Lord. You can be a Sith Lord. We could be together. We can rule the galaxy.
See, I would have never have said no to Kylo Ren.
No, same.
Like,
no. I just rewatched all those movies. No, I would have been like, yeah, okay, let's go. Let's go, baby.
The way that I had to scour the internet for fanfic after the letdown.
I was upset. You're coming back on. We're going to talk about Star Wars. You guys are here for it. That's a whole nother episode right there. But I would have said yes immediately. Come on. I mean, come on. So we already talked a little bit about D&D. How much of that made it into the story?
Yeah, so the legal amount is the first thing that I will say. Because obviously there is so much to Dungeons and Dragons in particular that is the intellectual property of Wizards of the Coast. So it's like fair. Like they own those things. And so if you're a creator, you should be careful about which of those things you use in your products that you make money off of.
Right.
The way that I kind of approached it was I wanted there to be a feel from the culture of like playing tabletop role-playing games more so than the like direct references to specific things. A really popular kind of like thing that happens in a lot of D&D games is whether or not the party should split. So it's like it's funny because it's like every time you split the party is when somebody dies or something bad happens. And so a lot of my references are kind of references like that, where it's like there's one point where Rain and her best friend are together and they're trying to figure out how to like more efficiently find the answers. And so they're like, well, what if we split up? And they're like, split the group? Like what? Like
no.
And so anyway, there's things like that. If you are a D&D like player, you will see the references, and some of them cut really deep. The 3.0 rule set, like deep.
I don't know anything about D&D, but
if you find that one, let me know because I'll be really excited. It's totally not necessary to know any of this D&D stuff to understand what's happening.
Well, good.
And to enjoy the book. What was always important to me, like when I'm playing the game, and I've played with a lot of new players, is I want them to feel comfortable, and I want them to feel like, you know, that they're having fun. And like in our games, we have this thing called like the rule of cool, where it's like even if the rule set says you can't do that or whatever, if it's cool and it makes sense with what's going on, it's the rule of cool, and then the DM can decide like, yeah, I'll let you do that. And so it's not like punishing for not knowing or not having every single little detail clocked in your brain. I've done all girl campaigns too, which is really fun. Those ladies were crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah. I could only imagine. Speaking of crazy, what was the most challenging, crazy part of writing this book for you? Was there like something that was like, ah?
Let's see. I think everything felt kind of like chaotic, just because it was like the first long form thing I'd ever written. I'd written short stuff before, but not something this long. And so everything was like new and kind of like uncharted, and I kind of had to learn a lot. And when I hired an editor was actually when I learned the most, because the editor kind of like went through and gave me all this feedback, and I saw how she was like, you know, suggesting I structure sentences and the way I introduce information and stuff. And I was just like, wow, maybe it's my design background of being super detail oriented and like perceptive, where I'm seeing the patterns that she's pointing out. And I'm like, yeah, I do that a lot. And I'm like, okay, now I'm self-aware, and now I can like go in and make this writing even better. But on the technical side, I would say it was all of that. On the like narrative side, I did rewrite the ending like 2 times.
Really?
Yeah. And so there was a bit of a moment there when I was drafting where I was like, am I going to figure this out? Like how to make this ending work? Because it's not like I changed exactly what I wanted to happen from happening. It was more just like the delivery of it, and like making sure that it came across the way I wanted to come across and stuff like that. But I would say that like this book and then the draft that I'm working on right now, I realized like maybe halfway through writing this one that I was writing all the things in the book, the things that I needed to hear as a person to like be okay, you know?
Interesting.
And so once I realized that that's what I was doing, I think it was challenging before I had that self-awareness, because I'm like writing all these things that's happening, and, you know, characters are helping other characters in different ways and stuff like that. And then once I kind of got that self-awareness of like, I just told myself the thing that I needed to hear to be okay, then I was like, wow, like now this almost feels easier, because it's like I know what I need and what you know, my own traumas and stuff are, and like how I can channel that into my writing. And so this book is like a piece of that like aspect. The second book that I'm working on, I cannot not cry every time I read
God.
it. Yeah. It's just like that close to me and stuff. But I think I'll let you know the first chance I get a paper copy if you want to beta read it. But.
Absolutely. Well, I love the way that you talk about this book. I can see the love that you have like in your eyes, and it's just such a beautiful thing. I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. I can't wait to read it from front to back. It sounds like it was very therapeutic.
Yeah.
To write, and the second one as well.
I don't mean this lightly, but I also don't mean it literally, so I don't want you to worry, but I feel like writing these books saved my life.
Right.
Like, and I know that sounds dramatic, but it's just like, that's how it feels.
That's your truth. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be in a dangerous way, but maybe your life wasn't feeling like that authentic or aligned. So writing these did save your life in a way that is making you more in alignment. You know, it doesn't have to be like,
it's like, I can't even imagine the like alternate timeline where I didn't do this.
Right.
Like I can't imagine it being like better than like this, the one that I'm on. I'm on the right timeline.
We love that. We talked about there's a second book. Are we going to get a trilogy? Is this a three book moment, or?
So I've kind of got a couple different books in my like parking, I don't know, like
your parking lot,
like my parking line, like, you know, like at the schools when they pick up the kids, there's like the car line. It's like I've got a couple different things in the car line. The way that I am writing the books for this series, which is the Threads of Fate series, is each one is in chronological order, but they follow the perspective of a different character. Ooh. So like this one is from Rain's perspective, and there is some Leander POV chapters in it. The second book is from her best friend's perspective. Her name is Freda, and but it picks up exactly where this book left off, and you still get to see Rain and Leander. They're still there. It's written from Freda's perspective. And then the other ones in my little parking line are just other characters that you meet along the way that can also contribute their perspectives, but right where the next book like picks up and drops off and stuff like that. That's so cool. So I don't know, I don't want to promise like exactly how many it will be, but you'll kind of see once you get into it, there's a lot of like characters that kind of jump off the page at you and would be really fun to like be in the heads of. So it's easy to imagine it could kind of be open-ended, you know. That's
so exciting. We're gonna wrap up this episode because we've been talking for like almost over an hour, I think. So to wrap it up, tell everybody again where to follow you online, all about your pre-orders that are happening right now, and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok under Starling author. What I have kind of queued up for this release is I have a pre-order campaign right now with the New Romantics, which is a local Orlando bookstore, and you don't even have to be local to buy the book from them. So they will ship it to you. So if you pre-order from the New Romantics, you get a signed copy of the book. You also get this holographic. I don't know if I can make it do the holographic or not.
Maybe.
Let's see. If you go on my Instagram, you can see kind of.
I can put the video there too. There it is.
You get the holographic bookmark, and then I've also got this cute little sticker, which I'll have a more zoomed in version of it for you. But
so cute.
So from New Romantics, you get the signed copy and those 2 freebies. The last thing I'll mention is on August 2nd, 3 days before the release, I'm doing a signing event at Spellbound Books in Sanford. And so that one, I'll just have copies of the books that you can purchase for signing. I'll have like some extras of these like, you know, holographic bookmarks if you really want one. But yeah, that's
so exciting.
My little summary.
I love it. Well, you guys have some homework, everyone listening at home. Thank you for coming on the podcast and kicking off like the fresh season now. This is so exciting. You have to come back on. We have to talk about Good Charlotte. What else were we talking about? There was Star Wars. Yeah, so you got to come back on. You live so close. You got to hop on over anytime. Thank you for being here, everyone listening. Thank you for listening. You guys are awesome. Stick around for the next episode and follow Elizabeth on literally everything. And go buy the book and read it. Yay. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Bad Witch Babbles. If you enjoyed this episode, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. We'll have new videos every other Friday. See you soon.